Today's video takes place on Raspberry Island, an island just north of Kodiak Island in Alaska. Raspberry Island is a place heavily covered with brush and grass, with streams filled with salmon and hills that blossom with berries. This area is also filled with bears, very enormous bears. It was a freezing day in November 1998. A man named Gene Moe was hunting deer on Raspberry Island, with him knowing when it snowed that deer would be pushed to lower elevation to find shelter. This location in the wilderness is very hazardous and just the way. The 69-year-old liked it. This was the last year Gene would get to enjoy this environment, so he figured he'd make the most of it. After a few days, he and his hunting partner Steve decided to go separate ways so that they can cover different areas. Gene informed Steve that if he heard a shot, then come and assist. Even though the two were only about 100 yards apart, Gene happened to call in a sick-to-blacktail, one of the most abundant species of deer in the area. As the nightfall was creeping in, Gene started to process his harvest. He used his buck knife to gut the deer and remove the hide from the carcass after leaning his rifle against a tree. Shortly after, an extremely large brown bear emerged from the brush, not too far from where Gene was. The bear was foaming at the mouth, spitting and growling through its razor-sharp teeth. With only a knife in hand, Gene got ready for a life-or-death encounter. He knew if he ran, he would trigger the bear's predatory instinct and be attacked from the most vulnerable position, which is his back. Gene stared at the hungry bear, looking directly in its eyes. The ears of the bear lowered and its head dropped. The bear lunged forward towards Gene. He had no previous experience to fall back on, so he decided to extend his buck knife and wish for the best. He held the blade out straight towards the charging bear and placed his feet far apart to brace for impact. Gene Moe was 6 feet 1 inches tall and in great shape. He worked out regularly for hunting and fishing seasons. As the enormous bear closed the 30 feet distance between the two, Gene prayed out loud, saying, "Lord, I need your help. Help me, Lord." The bear didn't hesitate, as it was acting merely on instinct. As the bear rushed towards Gene, the edge of the knife held forward didn't hit the bear's mouth as Gene intended it to do, but instead skimmed along the bear's cheek and sliced open a huge gash along its skull. The now injured and angry bear clamped down on Gene's right arm, tearing the muscle and flesh from just above his elbow all the way down to his wrist. Gene thought his arm was completely ripped off. Gene turned towards the bear and wrapped his left arm around the neck of the giant predator. Gene then tried to poke the bear in the eye, but instead managed to get his index finger into its ear and push it in as far as he could. The bear looked confused and pulled back. With his arm still around its neck, the bear suplexed Gene as if it were a professional wrestler. Amazed at the power of the bear, Gene sprang back to his feet after being flung 10 feet in the air. The bear now, which was only about 5 yards away, took a few seconds to analyze the situation, then stood up on its hind legs and walked towards its new opponent. Gene circled to his left as the bear struck out with its right paw. Even though Gene pulled his head back, one of the bear's claws bisected his left ear. The bear immediately followed up with a quick swipe from its left paw, which landed on Gene's right leg and knocked him to the ground. As the bear closed in, Gene put his boots together and double-kicked the bear just under the chin, sending him backwards. Gene beat the bear back to his feet. The bear circled to Gene's left side, and knowing from experience that the bear would use its left paw to attack, Gene pressed into the bear's chest. The bear twisted its head to catch Gene's right knee and clamped down. Gene tried to gain leverage and wrapped his arms around the bear's neck, but the bear was too strong. Gene swung his blade just below the bear's jaw and lunged it in repeatedly, causing the bear to pull back. The bear's right paw wrapped around Gene's neck as it attempted to lift the man off the ground. Without the added power of its right leg, the bear couldn't complete the slam, which forced it to release its grip on the man. Gene took his blade and, with as much energy as possible, he punched the blade into the bear just behind its massive head. This attack hit something hard, and the bear retreated a short distance with its head cocked to one side. The bear seemed to shrink as it leaked blood. All Gene yelled, "Come on, bear, the Lord is on thy side." Agreeing to the challenge, the 700-pound bear rushed towards Gene. Gene swung his left fist with everything he had left in him, striking the bear just below the right eye. The bear quivered for a second, then bounced off the ground. The bear collapsed with its feet and head under its body. Gene knew for a fact the bear was dead. He knew he had to ensure a victory, using his rifle, in which he forced his left hand to grab it, and fired a couple of shots in the deceased bear. Gene realized the first part of his struggle had ended, and needed to get back to civilization now. He pushed his way through the dense bushes for about 2 miles. He was exhausted and decided to lay down to die. He fell and got back up 3 times. Before finally reaching civilization, Gene was too far gone to continue and started to yell very loudly, and got a response. While approaching, they witnessed his clothes torn and body ripped up. Gene begged his friends to shoot him and end his misery. The U.S. Coast Guard happened to be in the area and immediately flew towards the remote location to help. The doctor at Kodiak's hospital worked on Gene for 7 hours, sewing up his fatal wounds. A group of volunteers decided to head to the scene where the attack took place. Using Gene's blood trail, they found his rifle and the dead bear, a 13-year-old bear who chased off her own kids earlier to fatten up for the winter. She attacked him out of hunger